All right, let's get one thing straight. This is not just some school project. Today, we're launching a full-blown scientific expedition, and your own backyard, that's the laboratory. Think of this as your official field guide to becoming a real-life naturalist. We're going to cover everything from collecting specimens to presenting them like a pro.
So, the big question is, are you ready for your first field mission? Seriously, this is way more than homework. It's your chance to be a biologist, an explorer, and even a storyteller. You're about to document the incredible life that's happening right outside your door. Let's get started.
Okay, part one, your scientific expedition begins. Now, before we even think about collecting anything, we have to master the art of just watching. So, what's the big idea here? Well, your main goal is to build what I love to call a library of life. Every plant, every insect you collect, it's not just an object. It's like a book, a chapter in the story of your local ecosystem. And your job? You get to be the librarian, carefully collecting, preserving, and documenting it so that that story can be read for years to come.
But hold on, before you grab a single thing, the real science begins. And that's observation. These questions you see here, this is your scientific checklist. You've got to be a detective. Where does this thing actually live? What's it eating? Who are its neighbors? Is it super common, or did you just stumble upon something rare? See, this context is what turns a simple collection into a truly valuable scientific record.
All right, Section 2, Gathering Your Explorer's Toolkit. Now that you've got your eye on a target, it's time to gear up for the field. And don't worry, as you're about to see, you can totally improvise most of this stuff. First up, one of my favorite tools, if only for the name alone, the pooter. Yeah, it sounds a little funny, but it is an absolutely ingenious device. It lets you gently suck tiny insects into a jar. And thanks to a clever tube-tube system, you can be sure you're getting the bug and not, a mouthful of bug. Next on the list is the pitfall trap. This is a brilliant, kind of sneaky way to collect all those critters that crawl around on the ground. You just sink a container, like a yogurt cup, into the soil so the top is perfectly level with the ground. Unsuspecting insects just wander right in. You set it, forget it for a little while, and then come back to see what treasures you found. Now, for all our plant explorers out there, your most trusted tool is going to be a pair of secateurs. These are basically just heavy-duty, super strong scissors for plants. They let you make a clean, sharp cut, which is not only better for the plant you're sampling from, but it also gives you a much better specimen to work with.
So this slide breaks down your toolkit perfectly. You see on the left, for plants, it's pretty simple. You need something to cut with and a bag to carry your sample. But on the right, for animals, the kit gets a little more specialized, right? You've got nets, pooters, traps, and a really crucial piece of safety gear, gloves. Always be safe.
And that brings us to Section 3, the art of preservation. You see, collecting your specimens is really just the first step. Now we've got to make sure your amazing discoveries can last so they can be studied for a long, long time. For plants, the goal is to create what's called a herbarium specimen. It's actually a pretty simple process that's all about removing moisture to stop decay. You cut your sample, you press it flat between some absorbent paper, and hey, a stack of heavy books and some old newspaper works perfectly for this. You let it dry out completely, and then you mount it. And as you can see, it all ends with the single most important step of all, labeling. Now, what about soft-bodied animals that you can't just press flat like a flower? For those, we use something called wet preservation. This basically means storing the specimen in a jar with a preservative like ethanol. It's like liquid gold for scientists because it completely stops decay, keeping all the structures, inside and out, totally intact for detailed study. Okay, moving on to Section 4, creating the scientist's logbook. Listen, a specimen is only half the story. The other, and I'd argue more important half, is the data. This is where you really go from just a collector to an actual scientist. I really want you to burn this quote into your brain. A specimen without data is just a decoration. Why? Because that data, the what, the where, and the when, that is how real science gets done. It's how we track if a species is disappearing or how insect populations are responding to climate change over decades. Your little label is the key that unlocks your specimen's true, powerful story. Part of your documentation is going to be drawing what you see. Now, a biological drawing is all about detail and accuracy, not about being a great artist. And one thing you absolutely must include is your magnification. The formula is super simple. Just divide the length of your drawing by the actual length of the specimen. That's it. Let's make that crystal clear with an example. Okay, imagine the butterfly you collected is 2 centimeters long. On your paper, you draw a nice big version of it that's 10 centimeters long. You just divide 10 by 2, and you get 5. Your magnification is 5x. Simple as that. You've now officially recorded that your drawing is 5 times bigger than the real thing.
All right, we're at the home stretch. Section 5, showcasing your discoveries. You've done all the hard scientific work. Now it's time to present what you found. And trust me, a little bit of planning here goes a very long way.
Feeling a little overwhelmed by all this? Don't be. Seriously, just look at how we can break this whole thing down. 4 weeks, that's all you need. Week 1 is just for planning and budgeting. Week 2, you're out in the field having fun. Week 3 is your lab work, preserving and drawing, and Week 4 is all about putting that final presentation together. See? Totally, completely manageable.
And let's talk about the budget, because science does not have to be expensive. You don't need fancy store-bought collection jars. Old jam jars work great. You definitely don't need a professional plant press. Like I said, heavy books and newspaper are a classic for a reason. You just got to get resourceful. Honestly, that's part of the fun and the challenge of being a scientist.
So, as you start to put your final project together, I want you to ask yourself this one last question. You don't just have a box of leaves and bugs anymore. You have data. You have a snapshot of an entire ecosystem at one specific moment in time. So, what story does your collection tell about the world you live in?